Microsoft and Google are about to go head to head in the game streaming platform wars. Let's see what both has to offer. What's up everybody, Brad here, back again, and one of the questions I've gotten through a lot of Twitter DMs and everything else, email and YouTube comments, are what are the primary differences between Stadia and Microsoft's upcoming xCloud? And I want to be clear, there are some really fundamental differences coming down the pipeline for both of these platforms, and it's important to know what you're getting into before you start spending your hard-earned dollars on this stuff. So let's just kind of break it down. Let's look at Stadia first. There's going to be two tiers. There's Pro, and then there's the base. The base, Google says, will be available forever for free, at least for the time being, but it is not going to be available at launch. Stadia Pro, which is coming in November, will cost you $9.99 a month, and it wouldn't surprise me if they have some sort of bundle where you can pre-buy for a year and you get 20% off. That's pretty much the industry standard, but that is in the pipeline. And so what you're going to get with Stadia Pro are better graphics, some discounts on games, and a couple other features as well. But it's more like Xbox Live Gold than it is, say, a Netflix of games. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. What Google is proposing here is that you go to their platform, you buy the game, and then you can play it on any device that you want. It's not a bad pitch. We don't know the exact performance locally, but there are some things to be aware of. For example, if you buy the game on Stadia, as of right now, there's no way to take that game to another platform. Let's say you don't have, you move and your new location has a bad internet connection. Well, you're kind of out of luck, which sucks. But Google is saying you can download your data or save files and transport to another game if that game vendor allows you to do that. This is one of the big key things with Google. When you buy it through their service, you're all in on that particular style of play, which has its benefits and its downsides. Let's take a game, for example, like Apex Legends, which I love. Now, granted, I don't even know if Apex Legends is on Stadia on day one, but you'll understand why I'm going this. And it also gives me a cheap reason to show off a video montage of all my sweet headshots. So if you think about a game like Apex Legends, it's a competitive first-person shooter. This is also the same for Fortnite, also the same for PUBG, any other first-person shooter. Now, would you want to play this game on Stadia? Stadia is also making a big pitch for Destiny 2. It's one of the premier launch titles, right? And it also has a P2P aspect of it. If you are a first-person shooter gamer, and you are playing that platform versus somebody, I don't know, who's playing locally, even on a console or on a desktop, do you really think you're going to have a better experience than that person? Like in Twitch shooters, I don't see how cloud services are going to provide a better experience yet, especially if they allow crossplay. Granted, if everybody on Stadia is playing only against people on Stadia, yeah, you're all going to be dealing with the same latency issues and it's going to all have the same problems, which means it's all on the same playing ground. But if you're a competitive player, you're not going to be wanting to stream the game down and up, that you're really hurting your input there. And so that is one of the key differences. Now, for casual gaming, games that are just first person only, you're not playing online, just walking around, whatever, simulators and all that good stuff, Stadia is probably a fantastic choice because then you can play it on any device, anywhere, and all that good stuff. My big challenge with Stadia right now is that you have to buy the game through Google, and then you can only play it on their service. But you can also make the argument that if you buy a game on Xbox, or if you buy a game anywhere else, like on the PlayStation, you can only play it on those platforms. Microsoft does have a unique advantage here where they do allow some games, and I'm hoping we're going to see more of this, where you buy it on a console and you can also play it on a PC. And I'm not talking about streaming, I'm just talking about downloading it and playing it. That is one advantage Microsoft has currently over the other platforms. But the Google lock-in isn't all that unique in the industry. But the primary thing to know here is that Google is owning the content on the back end, and that you just stream it down. You're basically buying a streaming license at that point, and then that is all that you get. Now, on Microsoft's side, they're switching things up a little bit here. They're not, at least from what we know so far, it makes sense that the game streaming service from Microsoft is going to be used with Game Pass, right? They have Game Pass Ultimate, and I think it would really undermine the service if Microsoft had Game Pass Ultimate, and the Ultimate doesn't include xCloud. I very much think Microsoft is building the Netflix of games online. That's what they offer right now, but it's basically through the Xbox. You have to go download it. xCloud is going to allow the streaming side of that. We don't know yet on the xCloud side is if you'll be able to buy a game much like you can on the Xbox Store or even like Stadia. If Microsoft can offer both, I think that'll be a huge advantage. You got to remember, it's been a big challenge for Microsoft to get the streaming side or the streaming rights to do the Game Pass stuff in xCloud. That is it's a different challenge. One, not only legally, you're going to get the licensing rights for all that stuff, but you also have to be able to execute with legacy games, which, remember, Google is trying to convince people to build for Stadia, which is a different way than building for just a traditional desktop. So it's not quite as easy. So if you think about it, Microsoft appears to be going for the Netflix of games. Google appears to be going to just more of like the Steam of the streaming world. Now, I suspect Google would love to go to the subscription route, much like Microsoft is doing, but they're just not quite there yet. But the key thing here is both platforms will let you play games anywhere you want. That is the end goal of both Stadia and xCloud. The question becomes is what is important to the user? If you're going to always be playing your games on a PC or an Xbox, streaming may not be for you. And actually, I think Microsoft has a major advantage there because you can already do, or at least we already believe that you're able to play it on your PC and then just play it anywhere. Actually, we know that for a fact. Remember, Microsoft announces here that you'll be able to turn your Xbox One into a streaming server and play your games anywhere. So Google has a pretty significant challenge here. And the only way I think Google will win long term is if they have better technology. And someone's going to comment, better technology doesn't always win. And you're absolutely right, which is why Microsoft is buying so many game studios. So the question becomes, is Stadia bad? Someone's going to comment like, oh, you're just trashing Stadia. I'm happy Stadia exists for many, many, many reasons. One, options for the gamer, always a fantastic thing. Always a fantastic thing. Two, this is giving Microsoft a very serious run for the money in the cloud streaming service business model, which means that Microsoft can't just be lazy about it, and which means they have to get better. And so with Microsoft and Google going head to head on this stuff, the gamers, we are going to win. The question becomes which for the gamer is going to be the better option. Personally, and someone's going to say, you're biased. I think it's Microsoft's got the better path right now, only because we have xCloud, we have the console, we already know the Game Pass model. Right now, you can convert your subscription. Here's a pro tip. Go out and buy a whole bunch of Xbox Live Gold, convert it into Game Pass Ultimate for $1, and then you'll get Game Pass for, some people have up to 3 years of this stuff for $1. Like, you will not find a better value in gaming. Right now, Microsoft is very concerned or put forth an effort to get everybody into their subscription model because that will transition very nicely into xCloud. I think Microsoft is trying to get away from buying the games one-on-one, and they want you to be basically buying a subscription because that's a better lock-in experience than, say, owning the game. Now, on the Google side, they're going to have a much cleaner business model where they'll say, hey, just come buy this game and go play it wherever you want. I think that is going to be easier to pitch to consumers who are not educated about the benefits of both platforms, right? You go in, it's what people know. They understand that you just go buy the game, and it works on everything. But for the competitive user, I think it's going to be a challenge. Where I personally think cloud streaming services are going to win are new gamers who are looking at casual games. Like my parents would never play Apex Legends or Fortnite, but they might play a game like Oblivion or something a little bit more slower paced, or a farming simulator, or a flight simulator that's coming from Microsoft. I could very much see them getting into something like that as opposed to a hardcore first-person online esports type game. I think that is the goal of these cloud streaming services. But the question becomes, does anyone really want this stuff? I know that's kind of an odd thing to say, that, like, at this point in the cycle, but both Google and Microsoft are betting on that you, the user listening to this, want to stream games, that you want to be able to play all this stuff on your cell phone whenever you want, wherever you want. I don't know if that's still sold yet, because people who buy console gaming, and I'm going to lump them into a very large bucket, people who buy console gamings are pretty serious about gaming because they bought a very specific device to do one specific thing, not to watch TV, but to play games. Are those people are they going to tolerate higher level of latency through the cloud? I know Microsoft and Google will tell you that it's very, very close, but we all know the true story is that it will be close, but it will never be better than this box sitting right here next to you. there's laws of physics and distances that make that impossible. Me streaming to that box versus me streaming to a server that's a couple hundred miles away, you can tell which signal is going to get there first. And on this side, it's only streaming data up for my player position as opposed to streaming all that data down. It's going to be an interesting business model and decision to see how well these things do long term. But the thing you need to take away is that Google is taking the approach of the classic buy and play anywhere. Microsoft, I believe, is taking the Netflix style approach about which place to play your games, how to play them, play any game you want for one low monthly fee. The question is, what's the better model, buy or rent?